because you're stuck like this. Tirato, tirato. Tirato, 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 ta. Stay open. Don't close it down. Okay, and that's an accent with the Sforzando. You got to go really ba, like a big band. Ba, kind of sound. Beat pa, beat pa, ba, ba. Yeah, I really want something much faster. It's with the air. Yeah, that's happening. Something like that. Yeah. Okay, and then on the third beat, stop blowing the air. Otherwise, we're going to hear. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, off. Yeah, the silence is already there, so it should be no air to be heard. Yeah, I see. Okay, you're playing different dynamics than what's written. There's an accent in the beginning, and a crescendo all the way through. Okay. That's much more tension than. That's a different character. Okay, and always think the triplets, in this movement in particular, but as something flowing. It's faster than 8 notes, so it should always be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, something fluid that's moving forward. Very often we think triplets, okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We try to fit them mathematically 3 against 2, and then we slow them down. Da, da, dee, da. So. Don't do anything with the lips. Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sending the air as high as I can within my head, up there. And intonation control, tone quality stays exactly the same. It's just the sound is from big is getting smaller and then disappearing until you don't see it anymore. You don't hear it anymore. It's as simple as that. Now, it takes, of course, some practice and some research, and each of us got to do this work for themselves. But you know, this feeling of finding this point where everything is centered, where every sound is centered, whether it's tiny, big, 3D, 4D, we can really make the sound very present or very remote, very distant. Just by changing the shape that it takes how we create it in our mind, in our imagination. But for this, we got to send that air through our brains all the way up and load it with imagination, with the direction and fantasy, and then it's gonna work this way. But all of us got to experience this. It's like a lab, you know, when we're like chemists or I don't know, just making dangerous mixes and sometimes we find the right thing. Just for playing the flute. When I was a student, when I was your age, I was spending lots of time just on my own, doing this kind of thing, reading Bach pieces for keyboard or transcribing things, just reading music, and just trying to find difficulties that were not written for the flute, and trying to solve them on the flute, so that they were solved for a musical reason. And there you find new challenges. You find really things that are not written for the flute, so that are not limited to the flute, but it brings you to other zones of danger and investigation. And I think this is really something very exciting, but it's your own process of discovering all of that. Yeah, it's too obvious. Why don't you just let the sound come? Why don't you start? No, no talking. Okay, but again, don't. You know what is happening? The whistle tone is because you. Instead, if you're setting the air in motion through your nose instead of on the blade of the flute here, then you won't have that noise. It's because you're sending the air. It's not yet the speed that makes the flute speak, the flute sound. This is why, or resonate. This is why it's making a whistle tone thing. But that's not what he wanted. Otherwise, he would have written whistle tone. Yeah. Okay, accent, go back. So short and release the tension on the accent. Yeah. One bar before. Yeah, you cannot separate this. It's pa pa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, see, you're adding one beat. This is what I'm meaning when I'm saying it's out of proportion. It's not the proportions written by the composer. He writes sextuplet. He writes a dotted rhythm. It has to be, and then he writes 2 8 notes in the middle. This gives exactly the proportions that he wants. Imagine, we're building something like the Empire State Building, and the architect makes proportions, but then every worker makes different proportions, and the whole building is going to be crooked like this, yeah? We got to do just exactly the proportions in the way that the composer has been writing. Now we have installed the pace for the next. That was rather free in the beginning. Now we have it in time. Okay. Good. I think if you really care about not playing, you're thinking a lot about controlling the sound like this. If you just bring everything a bit further back, then it's going to be much nicer. Yeah? Much nicer in terms of attack and quality. And also less tension like this, because right now you've got a bit too much tension in the back of the neck because you're eager to do it well, but just by relaxing a bit more, you're going to be able to control better. And with the flute playing, it's a lot about control. We don't use strength. All the other instruments, for the reason I said, you're holding the instruments, you have a resistance, you have a pressure that you have to bring up in order to make it speak. With the flute, just with the wind already, it starts ringing and speaking. We virtually have no resistance. A bit more in the high range, of course, than in the lower range. But compared to any other woodwind instrument, except the recorder, sorry, there is no resistance here. We just have to control. But because we're spilling so much air outside of the instrument, we need to breathe really properly before we even start playing. And that's what most of us forget and still have to learn, because most of the time when we're taught to play the flute, we're not taught how to breathe. And this is the basics. This is what we should be doing first, is to breathe really properly. So go and check out what the singers are doing, what the actors are doing, how they project their voice, how they focus their voice, how they breathe before, how they support. Because this is really very, very, very damn useful for playing the flute. Okay, thanks very much.